This is going to be a very special CVAP episode or CVAP workshop ngayong hapon.
Yes, sir. You are precisely correct. Because as I have said earlier,
Ako kasi I've always been a nerd ever since. So normally, parang yung sasabi nga ni Mr. Keats kanina. So I would read a lot of stuff. I would absorb a lot of stuff without knowing what they're for. Pero parang in my mind, usually, when I read something or when I get information, when I learn something, ang question lagi sa utak ko is, how can I teach this? Actually, I just want to mention that I actually had a mentor. So I'm siguro compared to Vince and Mr. Speaks, I'm relatively new in the professional speaking field. So I started in 2014. My mentor was Sir Pocholo Gonzalez, the VoiceMaster of the Philippines. And as one of the, nagsimula ako sa kanya. And when I say nagsimula ako, na parang pag may talk siya, he would give me 5 minutes to speak on stage in his stage time. Yung mga ganon. Doon ako nagsimula. So walang sense yung mga sinasabi ko. Di mga ganyan. And then eventually, I got invited. Actually, after nun, naging proxy ako sa kanya pagka may invitation pero hindi siya available. So ako yung pinapadala. Hindi ako available pero si Ada Cuaresma, ganon. And then until eventually, I got my own audience, so to speak. So I got invited in my own speaking engagements. In public speaking, when people ask me, so paano ba? Paano nga ba ako matututo or paano ako gagaling? I would always say, just do it. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, andito na po. Let me introduce our speaker for today. So, sino ba to? So she is a voice artist, former radio broadcaster, leadership trainer, and speaker. And her career behind the microphone began in 2014 under the mentorship of course, Sir Pocholo, the VoiceMaster Gonzalez, where she volunteered her time as a broadcaster, events host, voice artist, and motivational speaker.
And to add Sir Richard, she is a voice artist. She has lent her voice to a number of projects. To mention, TV commercials for Tide, Tolak Angin, Caltrate Plus, a radio commercials for DOH, Go Negosyo, Bequadin, PPI, Cashalo, and Care for Qatar. A Tagalog dubbing for Filipino Fairy Tales. ABP for Go Negosyo, DENR, Tag-Ibig, and Netflix Philippines. A telephony voice prompts for Microsoft Philippines. She also worked as a scriptwriter for Creative Voices dubbing projects in SDI Media and ABS. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's give her the CBAP welcome by raising our hands to our guest speaker, no other than Miss Ada Cuaresma.
Yon!
Thank you. Maraming salamat, Sir Richard, Sir Jeff. Please type yes in the chat if you can hear me. I just want to make sure na naririnig niyo po ako. Yes. Thank you po. Thank you, Sir Richard. Thank you, Sir Jeff, for that lovely introduction which I wrote. Yes. Ang tawag ko doon, law of influence, no? You make it easy for people to do what you ask them to do. O, diba? Ayan. Isang magandang hapon po sa ating mga voice mates. Ayan. It is my privilege na makasilip dito sa napakasayang community ng CVAP at maging bahagi kahit papano sa graduation po ng CVAP Batch 6. Yan. At syempre po, it's also a privilege to speak back to back, kasama ang isa sa pinaka-veterano, pinaka-batikan, at pinaka-hinahangaan, syempre next to the VoiceMaster, di ba? Isa sa pinaka-hinahangaan sa industriya ng dubbing, walang iba kundi si Direct Pinky, So it's a privilege and an honor to actually speak back to back with her as well. At syempre, hindi ko naman pwedeng makalimutang magpasalamat sa nag-iisa, sa poging-pogi at sa love na love nating VoiceMaster ng Pilipinas. Na-miss kong sabihin yon, Sir Choi. Sa radyo dati, every week nasasabi ko yun. So Sir Pocholo, the VoiceMaster Gonzalez, maraming salamat po for inviting me this afternoon to be a part of this event for the CVAP community. Ayan, so i-share ko lamang po muna ang aking screen na walang notes. Ayan, so good afternoon po muli sa ating mga voice mates. And this afternoon, for the next hour, I will be speaking with you about script writing for dubbing. 3 secrets for world-class script localization. Ayan, ako over the last decade, no, lalo na ngayon, siguro everything is being digitalized, di ba? Everything is being virtualized. Napakalaki na po ng demand for localization, aka dubbing, no? Agree ba kayo doon? Siguro dati, nung mga 90s, nung year 2000s, naririnig lang natin yung konsepto ng dubbing when we talk about yung mga non-English na mga palabas, no? Yung mga pelikula, yung mga teleserye, di ba? Ngayon, even materials other than bukod sa pelikula, TV series, 'di ba? No, may mga e-learning, may audiobooks, may video games, may commercials, even telephone prompts, 'di ba? And even our talking gadgets, no? All these kinds of materials now have local language options. And ang mas interestingly enough, no, even materials that are originally produced in English, 'di ba? English being the universal language. So dapat lahat ng tao nakakaintindi ng English. But even English-produced materials, nilo-localize na rin ngayon. So obviously, lahat ng mga yan dumadaan po sa proseso na tinatawag nating localization. So this afternoon, ako po ay nabigyan ng opportunity to share with you my personal experience in terms of script writing for dubbing. So I think we have the whole of CVAP community invited, ano? So meron na po ba ditong naka-experience na mag-dub? Alam ko maraming projects ang Creative Voices sa pagdadub. Can you type ako po in the chat kung na-experience nyo ng mag-dub? Sa inyong career as a voice artist? Type ako po in the chat. At kung na-experience mo namang mag-translate ng script for dubbing, please type ako yan. Ayan. Gusto ko lamang po malaman kung meron na dito mga naka-experience. Ayan. Ng dubbing or ng script writing for dubbing. So type ako po in the chat kung kayo ay nakapag-dub na, at type ako yan kung na-experience nyo na mag-translate ng script. Na pag-translate na ba kayo ni Miss Nikki? Ayan, ng mga script. Me po, ako po, ayan. Sabi ni The Nick of Voice. Ako po, sabi ni Carla, ayan, nakapag-dub na. Sino ba nakapag-translate? Ayan, gusto ko makita sino mga nakapag-translate. Type ako yan. O kung nakapag-translate ka na, type in the chat ako yan. Ayan, so meron may mga nag-dub. Ayan, so mas marami yung mga nakapag-dub na ano. Ako po, ayan, si Miss Len, si Miss Carla, ayan, good job, congratulations. And alam niyo po, dati lagi ko po naririnig kay VoiceMaster, no, lagi sinasabi ni Sir Choi to, kung gusto mong maging magaling na dubber, dapat matuto kang mag-translate. And I actually get his point, no. Tama yung sinabi ni VoiceMaster kasi ang totoo po niyan, mas maa-appreciate mo yung sining ng pagdadub kung naiintindihan mo yung proseso na pinagdadaanan ng mga script para ma-localize, no? At saka sa totoo lang, no, kung dubber ka tas naka-experience or na-experience mo na mag-translate din ng script, ang lakas makatalino. Totoo yun kasi pag nagta-translate ka tapos dubber ka rin, you actually get to a point na para ka may autocorrect. Alam mo yon, yung tipong habang nagda-dub ka, nakikita mo na yung script, alam mo kung magsisync siya, 'di ba? Alam mo kung may sense ba o walang sense yung dialogue na sinasabi mo, at kaya mong mag-adjust right then and there as a dubber habang nagre-record ka. So para ka may autocorrect, no? So while this is not a full-blown script writing for dubbing workshop because I only have 1 hour na presentation, ano, I still hope that I could share with you some of the tips na makakatulong sa inyo, especially kapag na-immerse na kayo or napasok nyo na po ang mundo ng pagdadub, no? Actually ngayon, alam ko maraming opportunity sa dubbing. Sabi ko nga kanina, napakalawak na po ng demand for localization. And sa Creative Voices pa lang, sobrang dami na po ng opportunities for dubbing. So hopefully, yung mga i-share ko po sa inyo, no, would help you somehow, no, to develop your skills, lalo na pagdating sa pagsusulat ng script or pagta-translate for dubbing. Okay? Disclaimer lamang po, no, meron po akong 2 disclaimer bago po tayo magpatuloy, no. Sa totoo lang po, no, I just wanna say that these secrets that I'm gonna share with you are based on my personal experience. Nung ako po ay nagta-translate noon for Creative Voices, halos every year nag-google ako actually kung meron bang training for translation for dubbing. Actually, kaninang umaga, ginugol ko ulit siya, wala po, no? Wala po talagang nagtuturo specifically ng translation or ng script writing for dubbing. So meron mga workshop tungkol sa dubbing, meron mga workshop tungkol sa translation, pero yung translation for dubbing, wala masyado ikaw na mahahanap na mga nagtuturo, no, or mga articles na nakasulat, no, about translation for dubbing. So Sabi ko nga, no, yung mga i-share ko po sa inyo is base dun sa mga na-experience ko. These are my so-called best practices na naituro ko din actually dun sa mga sumunod na nag-translate sa akin sa creative voices. Ano? And mostly yung experience ko po pagdating sa translation for dubbing ay I translated mga animated children's stories, live action movies, mga short films, and even instructional materials at saka mga telephony voice prompts. So mamaya you'll see samples of some of those scripts natin translate ko po. Okay? And my second disclaimer is this, I'm not perfect, no? Wag po masyadong taasan ng expectation. Wag po masyadong taasan yung standards ninyo. Ayan. I'm not the best dubbing scriptwriter. Alam ko po yon because I know that there are a lot of veteran dubbers, more veteran translators in the industry. At ang totoo po, medyo matagal na rin ako hindi nakakapag-translate, no? But like I said, lahat po ng mga i-share ko sa inyo is actually based on my personal experience. But of course, ang maganda doon is that yung mga personal experiences ko na yon, of course, meron akong guidance, no? Ng walang iba kundi ni VoiceMaster, ayan, ni Sir Choi. Okay? And also, I'd love for this training to be a little interactive. Mamaya po meron tayong mga exercises na gagawin. So please, kahit sa chat lamang po, feel free to post questions, comments all throughout the discussion. Pero after po nating i-discuss yung 3 lessons, I'm gonna open the floor for Q&A. Para po, ako meron kayong mga tanong, pwede ko rin po masagot. Okay! At bago po tayo magsimula na pag-usapan yung 3 lessons, I'd like to introduce myself. Pero magpapakilala po ako not in the usual sense of how I introduce myself kapag ako ay may talk or training. Actually, ang branding ko po is Queen of Real Talk, no? Nagulat ako na na pinlay ni Sir Choi yung video sa bottom line. But yeah, yun yung kumbaga yun yung actually brand ko, yun yung ginagawa ko ngayon, no? So nagko-conduct po ako ng training. But that's not relevant to what we are going to discuss today. So para po makapagpakilala ako, I'm not gonna bore you with details of who I am and what I do, but what I'd like to do is show you 3 pictures. No, may papakita po ako sa inyo. Actually, 2 picture at isang video. And I'll tell you the story behind each of these pictures so that you can appreciate better why I'm here and why I'm speaking to you about script writing for dubbing. Okay? So the first picture that I would like to show you is this. Actually, hindi ko alam kung nakikinig si Sir Choi, no? Nagkausap kami, I think, last Monday or Tuesday. Doon kami nagkausap at in-invite ako ni Sir Choi na mag-talk ngayon about script writing for dubbing. And last Monday was April 5. And April 5 actually marked the 7th year ng pagkakakilala ko kay VoiceMaster. Because April 5, 2014, this picture that you see on the screen was actually taken. At ito po yung naging ID ko sa VoiceWorks, no? So yun po yung unang version ng in-person voice acting workshop na ginagawa sa Creative Voices. So I was part of batch 28. That was April of 2014. So that means 7 years ago, I was just like you, no? Although I know some of you are graduates na, or CBAs na, no? But 7 years ago, I was a new student, no, sa mundo ng pagbuboses. At ang totoo po niyan, I didn't really know, I don't even remember actually, kung bakit ako nag-take ng voice acting workshop. Ang naaalala ko lang po was that in 2014, nung simula nung taon na yon, I was at that point in my life where I wanted to discover what's out there for me, no? Or I wanted to do something bigger than myself. And perhaps, you know, for many of us, we share that kind of common experience, no? Napapadpad tayo sa Creative Voices, no? Napapadpad tayo sa CVAP, nakikilala natin si VoiceMaster when we are at that point in our life, di ba? Na gusto nating ma-discover yung passion natin, na gusto nating ma-uncover, no, yung best version of ourselves. And so I was at that point in my life in 2014. And so April 5 po yung day 1, no, ng VoiceWorks namin. And doon ko nga po nakilala si Sir Choi. And habang nag-workshop kami, actually, it was 8 Saturdays at nabigyan po kami ng pagkakataon na mag-record ng radio drama because kabatch ko po sa workshop si Jana Abejero. She's a broadcaster in DZRH. So kaklase ko siya dun sa workshop and nagpo-produce po siya ng mga radio drama. So yung batch namin, yung nabigyan ng pagkakataon na mag-record para dun sa radio drama na yon. And ang recording namin noon was every Wednesday morning, ano, and naalala ko yung unang-unang araw na recording namin, early bird ako, siguro excited ako noon, no? Ako yung unang dumating. And so, nagkaroon ako ng pagkakataon na makausap si Sir Choi. And he asked me a question that changed my life forever. Ang tanong niya sa akin, Ada, open-minded ka ba? Hindi, joke lang. Sabi ni Sir Choi asked me kung ano yung passion ko and kung saan ko nakikita yung sarili ko na gagamitin yung mga natutunan ko sa workshop. And I remember very clearly, ang sagot ko sa kanya, sabi ko, Sir, first love ko po ang training at public speaking. And I said that, not knowing na si Sir Choi pala ay isa sa pinakasikat na motivational speaker sa Pilipinas. So, sabi niya sa akin, sige Ada, ite-train kita. Sabi niya, actually, narinig niyo yung kwento na yon dun sa video sa The Bottom Line. Sinasama niya ako sa mga talks niya, taga-picture, ganyan, taga-buhat ng bag, taga-ligpit ng laptop, ganyan. But he would actually give me 5 minutes of his stage time to speak on stage. So, nung nagsimula ako, para ko tanga talaga, wala pang sense yung sinasabi ko, nahihiya pa ako, ganyan. And then the more that he did that, the more that he gave me that 5 minutes, the more that I became more confident and the more that I get to craft my own message until eventually na-promote ako to being his proxy sa mga talks niya, ganyan. And then, sinasama rin niya ako kapag magko-conduct siya ng mga training programs, mga half day, whole day, 2 days, mga ganon. And of course, kasabay po ng mga opportunities in public speaking, na-expose din ako sa iba-ibang opportunities behind the microphone. Actually, one of the first opportunities na binigay sa akin ni Sir Choi is mag-broadcast sa radyo. For 3 years, nagbo-broadcast po ako sa radyo sa mga programa na pinroduce ni Sir Choi sa DZME, sa Radyo Inquirer, at sa DZXL. Yun po yung huli namin. And of course, may opportunities sa dubbing, voiceover, hosting, and many more. In other words, every opportunity that I had to speak behind the microphone, lahat po yon was through Sir Choi. So, kung magagalingan po kayo sa akin magsalita, tandaan nyo po, kasalanan po niya yon, okay? So, those were all the things na na-experience ko from the time that this picture was taken 7 years ago. So, that's the story behind this picture. The next picture that I want to share with you is this collage. So this is just a few of the many pictures of the many places na nakapag-travel po ako kasama si VoiceMaster. Hindi kami nagbabakasyon, mukha lang kami nagbabakasyon, and in fairness, nakakapasyal din naman kami kahit papano. But lahat po ng pinuntahan namin ni Sir Pocholo together within Metro Manila, outside Metro Manila, even outside the Philippines, pinupuntahan po namin dahil merong talk, may event, or may training. Sabi nga ni Sir Choi, traveling with a purpose. So si Sir Choi po ang dahilan kung bakit ako nakapaglibot sa Pilipinas, as in Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, mula Banawe, hanggang Zamboanga, Bukidnon, CDO, ayan. Pati Singapore, actually pumunta na rin kami may inattendan kaming conference noon. And meron din ako mga napuntahan na lugar na kahit hindi ko kasama si VoiceMaster, the opportunity actually came from him, Nakapag-talk ako sa Davao, nakapag-talk ako sa Baguio, and even sa Malaysia, pinadala niya ako dun sa isang Young Women's Conference sa Malaysia. I think that was 2015. Yon. So, nung 2017 po, I made this simple collage. Ginawa ko tong picture na to as a birthday greeting for VoiceMaster, which reminds me, Sir Choi, malapit ka na naman tumanda. Advance happy birthday sa'yo. Ayan. So, I made this simple collage to greet him nung birthday niya po nung 2017 to give a really tiny snapshot of our travel. At ang sabi ko sa birthday greeting ko sa kanya, you call me your right wing, but you're the one who took me places and made me fly. Aw, sweet ko, di ba? Pero totoo kasi si Sir Choi lagi niya yung sinasabi dati, si Ada yung aking right wing, mga ganyan. So, but like I said, it was because of him na nagkaroon ako ng opportunity. Actually, ang totoo niyan, it's not really about the travel, It's not really about the places na nararating ko dahil kay Sir Choi, but for me, it's all about the platform, the opportunity, the support, the encouragement, and the confidence that I wouldn't have had if it weren't for Sir Choi. Kaya nga, alam niyo po, lagi ko sinasabi kay Sir Choi, na saan man ako mapunta, saan man ako mapadpad, ano man ang mangyari sa akin, sabi ko, Sir Choi will always be the person who made everything possible for me. So this picture is a reminder of that. Yan. And last but not the least, I'm gonna show you a video. Medyo nahihiya po ako dahil first time ko po ipapakita to. First time ko to isa sa publiko. Artista. Pasensya na po. Low quality, low budget. At wala pong audio to dahil screen grab lamang po ito, This video is actually a video of my college thesis. Ako ay isang player, I'm a theater arts major in college, Theater arts po ang aking tinapos. At ang thesis ko po ay playwriting. And so sa thesis po namin, nagsulat kami ng, yes, ako po yung nasa gitna. Oo, ako yan. Huwag kayong ano dyan, charot. So sa thesis po namin, nagsulat kami ng 3 script or 3 plays, and then yung pinaka-defense namin is mag-stage ng isa sa mga play namin. So eto po yun, no? Eto yung presentation ng isa sa mga script na sinulat ko. And so the reason I'm sharing this video with you is because when I look back, na-realize ko po that I've been a script writer most of my student life, no? Mapa-elementary, high school, college. So, palagi po ako nagsusulat ng script nung ako po ay estudyante. At actually, itong thesis ko po, ito yung huling script na nasulat ko at nakapagsulat na lamang po ako ulit ng script nung pinag-translate na ako ni Sir Choi ng script for dubbing. No? In other words, it was also because of Sir Choi that my talent, no, or my gift for script writing was reawakened. So, mamaya po, papakita ko sa inyo yung ilang samples sa mga script na aking tin-translate. But the reason I share this with you is because it's a perfect segue, no, to secret number 1 for, for script writing for dubbing, no. And secret number 1 is to think like a script writer, okay? Because when you translate a script of a movie, an anime, a video game, etc., you are basically a script writer and not a translator. Okay? Kaya nga po ang title po ng presentation ko is Script Writing for Dubbing, no? Because the whole craft, the whole process of localizing a script, hindi lamang po siya simple language transfer. Okay? Tatandaan po natin, no? There's more to translating for dubbing than just converting I to ako, no? Or translating love to mahal, no? Mas malawak pa po or mas elaborate pa po yung proseso ng pagsusulat ng script or pagta-translate kapag nagta-translate kayo para sa dubbing. Pero kung ayaw nyo pong maniwala sa akin, i-quote ko na lamang po si VoiceMaster. Ayan. Sa mga hindi po nakakaalam, ng 2019, lumabas po yung, na-publish po yung 6th edition, no, nung librong The Art of Voice Acting na sinulat po ni James Alberger, and si Sir Choi po contributed an entire chapter in this book about dubbing, no. So nagbigay po siya ng mga tips, ng mga best practices on dubbing. At sabi po niya dun sa libro, I refer to it as script writing and not translating. No, yan si VoiceMaster na nagsabi niyan. So it's script writing and not translating, because I always want to emphasize that what we do in dubbing is adapting the script to our local language. No, one of the biggest mistakes that scriptwriters make in dubbing is doing a word-for-word translation with little regard to sentence construction, text, and above all, the sound of the dialogue. Napaka-importante po niyan. And sabi rin ni Sir Choi, ultimately, the audience will watch the movie or TV show with localized content and not read from a script. And tama naman, di ba? No? Kung iisipin mo, kahit English na pelikula yung pinapanood mo, kahit Hollywood film pa yan, hindi mo maririnig yung original dialogue. Di ba? Hindi mo naririnig yung English na salita. No? The audience is watching the original video na pinatungan na ng translated dialogue. So, ang tanong, may sense ba nung tinranslate? Ang tanong, bagay ba nung tinranslate? No? Ang term nga dyan ni VM, no, lumulutang ba yung dialogue? No? Ibig sabihin, parang yung tunog ba ng dialogue, parang hindi siya bagay dun sa kwento, hindi siya para dun sa kwento, para sa ibang pelikula yata to, parang gano'n. Yun yung ibig sabihin ng lumulutang yung dialogue. Kaya tinatawag natin siyang script writing, no? Because again, ulitin ko yung sinabi ni Sir Pocholo, we are not only translating, we are adapting the script to our local language. Okay ba yon? Type okay in the chat if this is all making sense to you. Ayan, okay. Yay, thank you po. Yahoo! All right, so moving on, in order for us to think like a scriptwriter, no, this is what we need to understand. Ano nga ba ang papel, no? Ano nga ba ang responsibility ng isang scriptwriter as part of a dubbing project? Well, as a scriptwriter, you have 2 main responsibilities in a dubbing project, no? The first responsibility that you have, and this is the more obvious, no? Your first responsibility is to bring the script to life in the target language, right? And when you say bring the script to life in the target language, dalawa po lagi ang ating iisipin, syncing and adaptation. You sync the script and you adapt the script. Ganon ka palagi mag-isip. Sync ba, naka-adapt ba? Sync ba, naka-adapt ba? Ganon ka dapat mag-isip bilang isang scriptwriter. And later on, we will dive deep into syncing and adaptation when we talk about secrets 2 and 3, no? But the second role of a scriptwriter in a dubbing project, ito is this responsibility is less obvious, but it's just as important, no? And your second responsibility as a scriptwriter is to make it easy for the talent or the dubber, the sound engineer, and the director to do their jobs. Okay? Napaka-importante po ng script sa isang dubbing session, no? Ewan ko lang kay Sir Choi tsaka kay Direk Pinky, I mean, mas matagal sila sa industriya kaysa sa akin, no? Pero never pa po ako naka-encounter ng dubbing session na walang script. 'Di ba? And kahit siguro ewan ko, pero parang na-imagine ko, no, feeling ko kahit lahat kayo veteranong dubber, 'di ba? Kahit veteranong director, parang ang hirap pa rin, 'di ba? Na mag-dub ka ng kapaan lang. Yung papanoorin niyo yung video, tas right then and there on the fly magta-translate kayo. 'Di ba? Parang it's a complete waste of time and energy. Sa totoo lang, 'di ba? So napaka-importante ng isang script, no, sa isang dubbing session. So that being said, bilang isang scriptwriter, kailangan ikaw mismo, sa'yo mismo, pasado na yung script. Okay? Huwag mong iisipin na i-adjust naman yan pagdating ng dubbing, no? So, ibig sabihin, pag tinatranslate mo yung script, no, pag natapos mo nang i-translate, i-quality check mo siya. Tignan mo kung nakasync ba ng maayos, tignan mo kung naka-adapt ba yung script doon sa konteksto ng local language, no? Again, wag mong iisipin na aayusin naman yun or i-adjust naman yun, no? Hindi mo pwedeng ipasa sa director o sa dubber yung trabaho ng pag-correct ng script. Because again, that's a complete waste of time and energy in a dubbing session. Okay? Yung ideally, no, in a perfect world, no, ang pinaka-adjustment na lang na gagawin in the script during a dubbing session is to stretch or tighten a dialogue. Mamaya pag-uusapan din natin yan. No? I'll tell you what that means in just a bit. No? And usually, we stretch or tighten or we adjust the script base sa pace ng dubber. So kung mas mabilis pala magsalita yung nagdadub, or mas mabagal pala siya magsalita. So at the most, doon lang tayo dapat mag-a-adjust ng ating script, no? Actually, dati share ko lang, kasi one of the biggest projects na tinatranslate ko before sa Creative Voices is yung nagtatranslate kami for Filipino fairy tales, no? So we were translating mga animated children's stories, and ako usually nagtatranslate. At kadalasan, yung mga narrator, no, pag lalaki si Sir Choi, pag babae ako, no, so kami dalawa usually nagpapalitan sa narrator. And dumadating ako dun sa point na pag nagtatranslate ako, naririnig ko na yung boses ni Sir Choi kung paano niya basahin yung dialogue ng narrator. So parang nasasanay na ako, 'di ba? So kadalasan nagsusulat na ako, nagtatranslate na ako with thinking kung paano niya yun babasahin, no? Again, uulitin ko lamang po, no, as a scriptwriter, ikaw mismo i-quality check mo yung script na tinatranslate mo, no? Huwag mong iasa sa dubber or sa director, at huwag niyo pong hihintayin na mag-walk out ang talent o ang director dahil basura ang script. And unfortunately, na-experience ko na rin po yun noon, no? So to make everyone's job easy in a dubbing session, there are certain elements, no, na dapat meron sa script pag ikaw ay nagsusulat, no? Because here's the thing about dubbing session. So syempre in a perfect world, isang pasada lang sa script, 'di ba, no? Mula scene 1 hanggang scene 58, sana isang beses lang tayo magdadub sa kompleto na natin lahat ng dialogue. But of course, depending on the availability of the talent or the talents, magdadub tayo kung sino yung nandyan. In other words, ang isang script po sa dubbing, ilang beses po yung pinapasadahan hanggang makumpleto yung dialogue. So syempre sa first hour, ilan pa lang yung magdadub, marami pa yung butas, hanggang unti-unti makukumpleto na yun na makukumpleto. Hanggang pagtapos ng dubbing session, yun nga yung sinasabi, check nyo, baka may butas. No? Ibig sabihin, meron bang linya na hindi pa nadadub, di ba? Meron bang reaksyon na hindi pa nagawa ng bida, yung mga ganon. So kinukumpleto yan by repeatedly, no, going through the script a number of times, okay? So these dubbing script elements are meant to make it easy to locate which part of the script is currently being dubbed. No? Pag sinabi kong part of the script, both doon sa script na sinulat at doon sa video na sinasabayan, okay? So eto po yung mga, again, based on my experience, here are the script elements na dapat meron ang isang script, no, para mas madali, para habang nagdadub, mas madali na i-locate kung saan na tayong part ng script or part ng material nagdadub. Okay? The first element is what I call scene number and description. So mamaya po, may sample ako sa inyo in the next slide. I'll show you what that looks like. No? Pag sinabi po nating scene, it's basically the setting, di ba? So kung kunyari, may isang dialogue, nag-uusap sila sa sala, that's scene 1, di ba? And then yung next dialogue, nasa gym na sila, so that's scene 2. So every time na nagpapalit ng lugar, okay, ibang eksena na po yun, ibang scene na po yun. So scene 1, scene 2, no? So when you write a script, especially sa mga pelikula, sa mga mahahabang material, no? You need to write the scene number. So let's say, for example, scene 1. Tapos, isusulat nyo po yung description. Pag sinabi natin description, ano yung lugar? So let's say, bedroom, no? At sino yung characters na nandun? So let's say, for example, si B1 at si B2. Okay? So, again, ang purpose po ng scene number and description is to make it easy to scrub through the video. So let's say, for example, sabi mo sa tech, kuya, ano na po tayo? Scene 28 na po tayo. Bali, nasa kwarto po sila nito. Okay, so pag pinasadahan ko yung video, hahanapin ko kung nasan yung kwarto. Gets? So, yun po yung purpose ng scene number and description. Okay? And actually, I think when it comes to the technical side, no, usually sa yung tech, yung sound engineer, nagsisave din sila ng mga scenes, no? Kung yung mga audio, yung mga dialogue, sinesave din nila based on scenes. Yun. So, importante din po yun. Okay? The next element in your script should be the time code, no? Pag sinabi time code, ito po yung timestamp, no? So the time code may be found either at the beginning of the scene, okay? So pwedeng meron kang time code at the beginning ng eksena, or sometimes meron mga clients that actually require what they call a time-coded script. Okay? Perfect example po niya nung ginagawa namin yung mga children's stories, no? Because the fairy tales are in English, tinansin namin ng Tagalog, and our client is from Bulgaria. Okay? So obviously, hindi sila nakakaintindi ng Tagalog. So tina-time code namin yung script para sila, ilalapat nila yung dialogue na sinasubmit namin base doon sa time code. So yun yung gagamitin nilang reference. Okay? And with the time code, no, not just for the final output, pero habang nagdadub kayo, you can actually go to the exact point of the video without having to search or to scrub. Okay? So yun po yung benefit ng pagkakaroon ng time code. Alright? The next script element is page number. Alam ko po ngayong mga panahon na to, hindi na tayo nagpiprint ng mga scripts, no? Pero i-share ko na rin dahil dati, nagpiprint po tayo ng scripts for dubbing, no? And ang totoo po niyan, hindi namin isa-stapler yung mga script pa. Syempre, kasi kung makapal, no, kung makapal yung script, hindi ka naman makakapag-staple or makakapag-paperclip ng 97 pages ng script, di ba? But the more important reason kung bakit hindi namin isa-stapler yung mga script is because sa dubbing po, mas maingay yung flip ng papel kapag naka-staple siya. So, ang ginagawa namin, nakalatag lamang siya dun sa stand na parang libro, no? So, tahimik na ita-turn yung page. Okay? And because like I said earlier, ilang beses pinapasadahan yung script during a dubbing session, it is possible at nangyayari po talaga, no, na re-reshuffle yung script. So the page numbers help us to put the printed scripts back together. So mas madaling ayusin. Page 1, page 2, titignan mo na lang yung page numbers. But even if the scripts are no longer printed nowadays, di ba, no, page numbers can help the dubber and the director be literally on the same page, di ba? So it's also a best practice to put a page number on your script. All right? And last but not the least, it is recommended that your scripts for dubbing are in all caps. Actually, natutunan ko po ito nung nagdadub kami nun sa ABS, no? May mga director po na nire-require talaga nila na all caps yung script. And actually, sa bagay nga naman, because when you have all capital, kung lahat ng script mo naka-big letters, it lessens the confusion, no? Let's say, for example, merong straight line dito, ano ba to? Capital I, di ba? Small letter L o number 1, di ba? Kung all caps yan, hindi ka na malilito, di ba? So, pare-pareho yung itsura ng mga letters. Okay? So here is a sample, no? Ito po yung isa sa mga script na dinub namin sa Cinema One. The movie is entitled One Day. This is a Thai movie, no? So ito po yung mga script elements na in-explain ko kanina. So as you can see here, meron po tayong scene number and description. Ayan, scene 1, costume party, Denchai, right? Si Denchai yung bida, no? And we also have the time code. Ito, makikita nyo po yung time code. So at the beginning of the scene, nilagay namin kung anong oras, anong timestamp nagsisimula yung eksena na yon. And ito nga po sa taas yung page number na pinakita ko. Okay? And then this is also a sample of one of the scripts na ginawa namin for Filipino fairy tales, no? The Elves and the Shoemaker. Ayan, so ito po yung sinasabi ko na meron kami, ito yung client namin na nag-require ng time-coded script. So kada linya may time code, no? At kung mapapansin nyo po, hindi po kami matipid sa spacing, no? Para po mas madaling mabasa at makita kung saan nagtatapos at saan nagsisimula ang linya ng isang character. So I would highly recommend the use double spacing, no? To separate out the lines, no? Importante po yan para mas madali na makita, no? Mas madaling mabasa yung mga script. Hindi tayo nagkakalituan, nasan na ako, gano'n, 'di ba? Mas madali po siyang makita, mas madali siyang sundan ng mata. Okay? So far, so good. Can you type yeah in the chat kung kayo po ay nakakasunod? If this is all making sense at kung nakakatulong po ba yung dinidiscuss ko, type yeah in the chat. Yeah! Yeah! Thank you. Ayan. So, yung susunod naman po na gusto kong i-explain sa inyo, no, is yung tinatawag nating dubbing jargon. So, as a script writer, actually, kung nakapag-dub ka na, no, nakikita mo tong mga dubbing jargon na to sa iyong script. No? So, bilang script writer, you need to be familiar with these terms because these are your instructions. These are your cues to the dubber. Okay? So, kailangan nyo po siyang ilagay in parentheses and again, in all caps, no, para makita po nung dubber. And you have to put these terms or these cues at the beginning of the line kung saan applicable yung instruction na yon. Okay? So, merong ibang mga dubbing director, may iba pa silang terms, pero so far sa akin po, based on my experience, ito yung pinaka-common na nagagamit. Ano? Una na po dyan yung off. Okay? Because by default, pag nagdadub ka, nakikita yung bibig ng character na dinadub mo. Diba? Kaya nga actually, one of the important elements of a script is kung nakasync ba siya. No? Pag sinabi mong sync, nakasync ba dun sa galaw ng bibig ng character na dinadub. Right? But there are moments, there are scenes where the character's mouth is not seen. For example, kausap lang siya sa telepono. Diba? So nasa kabilang linya siya, wala siya dun sa picture. Diba? Or kung nakatalikod siya, 'di ba? Hindi nakikita yung bibig niya, batok lang niya nakikita. Or nandun siya sa kabilang kwarto. So at any point that the character's mouth is not seen, kailangan niyo pong ilagay yung off doon sa script, no, or doon sa linya para po malaman nung dubber na kahit hindi ko nakikita yung character ko, may darating akong linya. Okay? The next terms, eto pagsamahin ko na to on or to off. Okay, so obviously, pag sinabi nating to on, ibig sabihin, kanina off siya, hindi nakikita yung bibig, tapos biglang magiging on. Okay, so for kanina nasa kabilang kwarto siya, 'di ba? Tapos pumasok na siya, 'di ba? May dala-dala siyang pagkain, mga ganyan. So, nakikita na yung bibig niya, ganyan. So, to on. Okay? Pag to off naman, kabaliktaran. So, kanina, nasa kusina siya, tapos, nasa kusina eksena, and then lumabas na siya ng kusina, di ba? Nag-CR siya or whatever. So, off naman na yung mouth niya, hindi na nakikita yung bibig niya. Okay? Another common cue that you will need to write or you need to put on your script is yung reacts. No? Reacts stands for reaction. Okay? Ang maganda po sa dubbing is hindi mo na kailangang isulat kung ano yung reaction. Hindi mo kailangang ilagay na it's a laugh, it's a cry, it's a sigh, it's a yawn. Hindi mo kailangang ilagay yon, no? Ang importante lang, ilalagay mo yung word na reacts because, well, two reasons ba't natin ginagamit yung reacts na cue, no? Number one, karamihan sa mga reaction, hindi mo naman pwedeng i-spell, di ba? Sige nga, paano mo isusulat yung, di ba? Paano mo isusulat yon, di ba? Ang hirap, di ba? So, ilalagay mo lang yung reacts, no, para ma-signal dun sa dubber na magre-react siya ng ganon. Okay? So, papanoorin niya yung video at titingnan niya kung ano yung reaction na gagawin niya. Okay? And, the second reason for us to put the reacts is para bigyan ng signal yung dubber na, oy, magre-react ka dito. Okay? So, reactions could be anywhere from, sabi ko kanina, tawa, iyak, gulat, takot, di ba? Ano pa ba? Humikab, di ba? Sigh of relief, or even sa mga fight scenes. Ayan, meron kaming dinab dati sa ABS, no, karate ba or boxing, basta ganun, sa mga fights, yeah, yung mga ganun. Reacts lahat yon. So, hindi mo isusulat yung ya, di ba? Or hindi mo isusulat yung ha. So, lahat yon reacts na lang ilalagay mo dun sa script. Okay? The next one is overlap. No? Pag sinabi nating overlap, meron mga pagkakataon na may magkakasabay na tao na nag-uusap. Siguro nagtatalo sila, di ba? Or kunyari, merong eksena na may rally, so may crowd. So yung crowd may linya, tapos merong isang character na may solo siyang linya na nakapatong dun sa dialogue ng crowd. Right? So, we use the term overlap, no, para po ibigay yung cue dun sa dubber na habang naririnig mo nagsasalita itong character na to, isasabay yung linya mo doon. Okay? So kung kunyari, si person A, person B, person C, di ba? So lahat sila magkakasabay sila nagsasalita. So nakalagay doon, person A overlap, person B overlap. So ibig sabihin, sabay-sabay yung dialogue nilang tatlo. Okay? And then the next cue is yung ellipsis, no, yung dot. So ito po yung ginagamit natin for pauses in a dialogue. Okay? So usually, gagamitin mo to, let's say for example, kasi parang alam mo yung sa videoke, nangyari na ba yun sa'yo? Yung kunyari instrumental. Tapos nakita mo na yung lyrics na nakasulat doon sa TV. Akala mo papasok na, pero, gano'n ka ng gano'n, pero hindi pa pala, di ba? So you use the dot, 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 or the ellipsis to indicate na maghintay ka ng konti kasi may pause, may break in between. Okay? So ang general rule of thumb po is, let's say for example, if the pause is 5 seconds or less, gamitan mo ng dot, dot, dot. Pero kung mas mahaba, let's say for example, nagmo-monologue siya, no? Naglalakad siya and then may linya siya habang naglalakad siya. And then huminto siya, huminto siya sa pagsasalita, tapos naglakad siya hanggang dun sa sapa, ganyan. No? Naglakad siya hanggang sa sapa, tapos pagdating na doon, saka lang siya nagsalita. Tapos may 12-second gap. So pag ganun kahaba, no, ang gawin mo, i-time code mo na lang. No? I-time code mo kung ano oras niya, kung ano yung timestamp na lilinya siya ulit after that long pause. Okay? And last but not the least, wait lang. Ayan. Last but not the least, stretch and tighten. Ito yung sinasabi ko. Actually, hindi naman po ito nilalagay sa script, no? But these terms are used for the dubber during the dubbing session. Okay? Because sabi ko nga kanina, at most, ang pinaka-adjustment na nagagawin natin sa script sa dubbing is kapag kailangan i-adjust, depende sa pace nung nagdadub. Okay? So kung mabagal magsalita yung dubber, kung mabilis magsalita yung dubber, doon natin i-adjust yung script na sinulat. Okay? So pag sinabi po nating stretch, ibig sabihin yung linya na nasa script mas maikli kesa dun sa dialogue na kailangang i-dub. So isa-stretch mo siya. So pag sinabi po nating stretch, it's either babagalan mo yung sasabihin mo or mag-i-inject ka ng ilang mga words, lalagyan mo ng pa, ng lang, ng naman, yung okay? So tighten po is the exact opposite. So obviously, kung masyadong mahaba yung linya na nasa script pero tapos na pala magsalita yung character dun sa na dinadub, no? So it's either bibilisan mo yung sinasabi or babawasan mo yung ilang words, either drop mo yung mga ilang unnecessary words, or sometimes you will have to rephrase it para mas umikli, no, yung linya. Okay? So these are the things that you need to learn and practice to think like a script writer. Okay? Okay po ba? Can you type yes, yes, yo in the chat kung kayo po ay, if this is helpful to you? Ayan, type yes, yes, yo in the chat. Yes, yes, yo. Ayan, thank you po. Punta naman po tayo sa lesson number 2. Sorry, not lesson, secret number 2, no? Secret number 2 is context, not content, no? So babalikan ko yung sinabi ni Sir Pocholo doon sa libro, no? We are adapting the script to a local language. Kaya nga po hindi po tayo translator, tayo po ay script writer. Because in essence, what we are doing is we're translating the context and not the content. Okay? Pero alam niyo po, kanina pa po ako kuda ng kuda dito. So ang gagawin po natin ngayon, we will have a quick exercise. Okay? So in the next slide, I will show you a video. Ito po yung, sige, pakita ko na. Ayan. So this is one of the children's stories na dinub po namin, tinranslate namin sa Tagalog. Beauty and the Beast. Okay? So ito po ay excerpt ng unang part ng narrator. So what I would like you to do, ipi-play ko po yung video na naka-mute. Okay? Ipi-play ko muna yung video na naka-mute and I will pause every line. So what I'd like you to do is type in the chat paano nyo itatranslate yung linya na yon sa Tagalog. Okay? And again, when you translate for dubbing, 2 things that you need to remember, sync and adaptation. Sync and adaptation. Okay? So again, ipi-play ko po yung video line by line without the audio. Okay? So mag-focus po tayo every line and type in the chat kung ano yung inyong translation. Okay? Ready? Eto na. Okay. Once upon a time in a land far, far away. Type in the chat. Paano mo ito itatranslate in Tagalog? Once upon a time in a land far, far away. Noong unang panahon sa isang malayong lupain, sabi ni Sir Boggs. Okay, ano pa? Noong unang panahon mula sa malayong lugar, noong unang panahon sa malayong bayan, ayan, noong unang panahon sa isang malayong lugar. Tandaan niyo po yung mga yung translation na ginagawa ninyo, ha? Okay. O, next line. Wait lang. Okay. There lived a wealthy merchant and his 3 beautiful daughters. There lived a wealthy merchant and his 3 beautiful daughters. Paano mo yan itatranslate sa Tagalog? Ano ang iyong translation? There lived a wealthy merchant and his 3 beautiful daughters. Gino-Google Translate nyo na ba yung salitang merchant? May isang mayamang mangangalakal kasama ang kanyang mga anak na babae. Ayan. May nakatirang isang mayaman na mangangalakal kasama ang kanyang 3 anak. Okay? May naninirahang mayamang negosyante at ang kanyang 3 nagagandahang anak na babae. Okay? Again, sync and adaptation. Ha? At yan po ang lagi nating tatandaan. Okay? Yung iba, pag makikita mo na masyado na mahaba yung linya, you will know it will not sync. Mamaya, mas pag-uusapan natin yan. May nakatirang mamamayang mayamang mangangalakal at ang kanyang 3 magagandang anak. May isang mayamang lalaki na may 3 anak na babae. Okay. Next line. The third one, though, was far prettier and wiser than others. The third one, though, was far prettier and wiser than the others. So, paano mo itatranslate yan? Yung pangatlong anak, ang pinakamaganda sa lahat. Ang isa ay pinakamaganda at pinakamatalino sa 2 niyang kapatid. Naiiba ang bunso niyang anak. Ang pangatlong anak ang siyang pinakamaganda, pero ang ikatlong anak ay ang bilis. Ang mas maganda at matalino sa kanila, ang ikatlong anak ay mas maganda at matalino, ngunit ang bunso ang pinakamaganda at pinakamatalino sa kanila. Okay, very good. Next. So everyone called her beauty. Ayan. So everyone called her beauty. So paano mo ita-translate? Kaya tinawag siyang beauty at siya'y tinawag na beauty, kaya ang lahat, beauty ang tawag sa kanya, kaya tinawag siyang beauty. Kaya naman tinawag siyang pinakamagandang babae. Okay, thank you. Next line. On the other hand, her sisters were jealous and mean. On the other hand, her sisters were jealous and mean. Subalit dahil dito, kaya kinamumuhian siya ng mga kapatid niya, kaya naman nainggit ang kanyang 2 kapatid. Kinaiinggitan siya ng kanyang mga kapatid. Sa isang dako ay kita ang galit at puot ng kanyang mga kapatid. Subalit ang 2 niyang kapatid ay naiinggit at nagalit sa kanya. Sa kabilang banda, ang siya'y kinainggitan ng kanyang mga kapatid. Okay? And I think this is the last line. All right. Tignan natin. They were more interested in spending their father's money. They were more interested in spending their father's money. So, paano mo yan itatranslate sa Tagalog? Tandaan niyo yung mga linya na inano nyo, ha? Oo. They were more interested in spending their father's money. Mas maluho sila at panayawaldas ng kayamanan ng ama. Ang 2 kapatid ay mas interesado sa kayamanan ng ama. Samantala, nawala na ako. Samantala, ang kanyang mga ate iba na pala to. Ang paggastos ng kayamanan ng kanilang ama ang pinagkakaabalahan nila. Mas interesado pa sila sa paggastos ng pera ng kanilang ama. Okay? Sila'y mas interesadong gastusin ang yaman ng kanilang ama. Nakatuon lamang ang kanilang atensyon sa kayamanan ng kanilang ama. Ayan. Mas gusto nilang pagtuunan ang kayamanan ng ama. Okay. Sino po sa inyo, meron bang matapang na magvo-volunteer to go to unmute and dub the entire video? Okay? Yun lang. Yung I think that was 4 or 5 lines. Meron ba? Meron bang gusto mag-volunteer na i-dub yung video in front of the group? May tinuro. Gusto ko yung may ganun eh. Hindi siya nag-volunteer, no? Voluntold. Oo. Si Marco po. Sino si Marco? Oo, voluntold, hindi volunteer, no? Meron ba? Wala. O sige, ganito ha. I'll be silent for a while. Uulitin ko, ipe-play ko yung video na walang audio. Okay? And then, basahin nyo kahit on your own lang, kahit hindi na kayo mag-unmute, basahin nyo po yung translation na ginawa ninyo kung pasok. Okay? So, I will play the video now. Basahin ninyo yung translation na ginawa ninyo. Okay? Again, tatandaan nyo po, sync and adaptation. Actually, kanina may mga napapansin na akong mga linya na medyo mahaba, no? So, malamang sa malamang maiiwan yon ng, or masyado yung mahaba para dun sa dialogue. Sige. So, let me play the video without the audio and then read the translation that you did. Alright? Once upon a time, in a land far, far, there lived a wealthy merchant and his 3 beautiful daughters. The third one, though, was far prettier and wiser than the others, so everyone called her Beauty. On the other hand, her sisters were jealous and mean. They were more interested in spending their father's money. Okay. Anong nangyari? Sumakto ka ba? Pasok ba yung translation mo? Yes or no? Type in the chat. Pasok ba yung translation mo? Ang bilis! Actually, no, well, to be fair naman, di ba, kasi pinost natin yung video, so hindi natin nakikita kung gaano kabilis yung transition ng mga linya. But like I said earlier, kung mapapansin nyo po, no, and again, that's one of the lessons that we're gonna learn later on. Pag nakita mo na mas mahaba na yung linya na tinype mo dun sa original, pihado na yon, no? Hindi na siya papasok, hindi na siya magsisync, okay? No po. Hiningal si Miss Ceci, nahingal siya. Nahuli, sabi ni Miss Janet, hindi daw. No, okay. Now, well, I will play the video again, okay? And this time, I will play it with the Tagalog audio. So, maririnig niyo po dito yung boses ni VoiceMaster, ni Sir Pocholo, bilang yung narrator. Okay? And then after that, i-breakdown natin ng konti yung nangyari, no, yung translation. Okay?
Si Beauty at si Beast. Noong unang panahon sa isang malayong lugar, may isang mayamang negosyante kasama ang kanyang 3 magagandang anak. Ngunit pinakamaganda at pinakamatalino sa lahat ang bunso, kaya tinawag siyang Beauty. Dahil dito, inggit na inggit sa kanya ang kanyang mga kapatid. Kaya nilulustay na lamang nila ang yaman ng kanilang ama.
Anong napansin ninyo doon sa translation na ginawa namin? Hala, Ada, paano nagkasya? Hala, Ada, ano nangyari? Binuod. Ay, ang lalim ng binuod, di ba, no? Medyo malayo. Everything was rephrased. Yes, binuod ang bawat linya, maiksi kasi mas nasa context. Shorter, paraphrased, yes. Okay? Sweet and precise. Thank you, Sir Jeff. Kaya sumakto. Okay? So, that's exactly what it means to translate the context and not the content. And ang totoo po niyan is in reality, no, kahit na merong subtitle na English, yung taong nanonood ng Tagalog, kung Pinoy ka at kung naiintindihan mo yung Tagalog, hindi mo masyadong babasahin yung subtitle. Tama? 'di ba? You're not gonna pay attention to the English subtitle kasi naiintindihan mo na yung language or yung dialogue na ni-record in your local language. So yes, rephrase po lahat ng linya. Ang totoo po niyan, halos lahat, no? Halos lahat ng mga children's stories na dinub namin, na tinranslate namin, malayo po yung words na ginamit namin doon sa kung ano yung nakasulat doon sa subtitle. Okay? Actually, kung napansin nyo, unang-una pa lang yung title, no? Because before, when I did this as a dubbing exercise, merong mga tao na nag-translate ng Beauty and the Beast, no? Si Maganda at ang Halimaw, yung mga ganyan. But for us, because it's a classic, di ba? Kilalang-kilala natin ang Beauty and the Beast, so we decided to keep the title intact. Ginawa namin siyang proper noun, si Beauty at si Beast. At sumakto siya kasi ang tawag dun sa bunso is Beauty. Nagigets nyo? Right? So yung title, hindi natin pinalitan yung, hindi natin tinranslate yung Beauty at yung Beast, no? What about this? Yung far, far away, di ba? In a land far, far away, hindi ko na sinabi sa malayong lugar, basta malayo, di ba? Isang malayo na lang, right? Okay? And on the other hand, meron, ang dami ko nakita kanina sa kabilang banda, ano pa ba yung ibang mga sinabi kanina, no? Pero mas pasok po kasi dun sa konteksto na dahil si Beauty yung pinakamaganda at pinakamatalino, naiinggit yung mga kapatid. So instead of translating on the other hand, ginawa natin siyang cause, ginawa natin siyang dahil dito. Imbes na sabihin natin sa kabilang banda naiinggit yung mga kapatid niya. Does that make sense? Okay? And yung jealous and mean, 'di ba? So ginawa na lang natin siya na ano tawag dito, na naiinggit sila, 'di ba? Naiinggit sila, hindi na natin nilagay yung mean, no? And yung they were more interested, sinabi na lang natin kaya nilulustay na lang nila ang pera ng kanilang ama, 'di ba? Sinimplehan na lang natin. Okay? And as we dive into, translating context, no, sana mas ma-appreciate niyo kung bakit ganun yung translation. Again, the audience will listen to the dialogue, no? Kahit may subtitle yung video, mas mapapakinggan pa rin nila is yung tinranslate na kasi yung native language nila, 'di ba? Babasahin ko, may sinabi dito si Miss Trina, sabi niya, using negosyante as opposed to mga ngalakal. Pwede naman palang hindi malalim na Tagalog. Yes, good point, Miss Trina, no? Because this is a children's story. 'Di ba? Kumbaga it's a classic fairy tale, pero kasi ang isa sa mga iisipin natin, sino bang nakikinig? Sino ba nanonood? Right? So that's what it means to translate context, not content. Okay? So palawigin pa po natin yung explanation ng translating content. No? I'll give you a couple more examples of translating context. No? Sino po dito yung nakakaalam nung Korean novela na What's Wrong with Secretary Kim? Okay, napanood nyo ba to? O yung mga mahilig sa Korean novela. Actually, 2 years ago, napanood ko po yung original nito. No? Kasi nirecommend yun sa akin ng isa kong kaibigan. No? Ayan, meron mga nakaka-relate, napanood nila. No? Si Mama po, dinamay pa yung Mama. Si Mama daw nanood ng What's Wrong with Secretary Kim. So napanood ko po yung original language, yung original na version nitong Korean novela na to. No? Because again, nirecommend nga siya sa akin ng kaibigan ko. Buti na lang kamo, 16 episodes lang siya. So hindi ako masyadong nilamon ng sistema, no? Hindi ako masyado na addict sa Korean novela. But after I watched the entire series, no, in the original language, so nagbabasa lang ako ng subtitle, saka po siya dinub at pinalabas sa ABS-CBN, no? And I would like to contrast, no, this is an example that I'm giving kasi po doon sa original na language, ang pangalan po ni Secretary Kim is Kim Mi-so. Yun yung pangalan niya, okay? Pero sino nakapanood dito nung What's Wrong with Secretary Kim na dinub sa ABS? Alam nyo ba kung anong pangalan ang ginamit kay Secretary Kim? Si Secretary Kim ay tinawag na Mariel Kim. Oh, 'di ba? Mariel Kim. So ibig pong sabihin, that's an example of translating context kasi gumamit sila ng pangalan na mas makaka-relate tayong mga Pinoy, 'di ba? Pangbida, 'di ba no? Pangalan na magandang babae, 'di ba? Parang 'yun yung iniisip mo pag nakarinig ka ng pangalang Mariel, 'di ba? So Mariel Kim, 'yun ang ginamit na pangalan. Okay? And there another example that I can share with you in terms of translating context is, meron din po kami mga tinranslate na children's stories na yung title, hindi namin alam kung paano siya directly itatranslate. no? So ang ginawa namin is tinranslate namin siya base sa konteksto. This is one example of that, no? Ang original title po ng English na story is The Salad King. Okay? Pero ginawa po namin yung title, Ang Hari ng Mga Gulay. Kasi ang totoo po niyan, yung kwento naman nito is tungkol sa lalaking nagtatanim. Wala pong kinalaman sa walang kinalaman sa paggawa ng salad. Hindi naman siya gumagawa ng salad, puro gulay lang ang pinag-uusapan dito. So instead of using the Salad King or ang hari ng mga ensalada, 'di ba? Ginawa naming ang hari ng mga gulay. Okay? And one of the most difficult titles that I had to translate was the children's story, Who Will Build the Cat? Alam niyo ba yung story yon? Who Will Build the Cat, no? Yung kwento ng yung kwento ng mga daga, 'di ba? Nasabi nila, lagyan natin ng bell yung leeg ng pusa, 'di ba? Para malaman natin pag parating na siya, right? So, pag nag-Google Translate ka, no, ang Tagalog po ng bell is kalembang. Okay? So, paano mo tatagalugin yung who will bell the cat? Sige nga, try mo nga, type it in the chat, paano mo siya itatranslate? Sinong, kakalembang sa pusa? Ganun ba yun? Or sinong magkakabit ng kalembang sa pusa? 'Di ba? Parang una sa lahat, yung word na kalembang, parang hindi siya pambata, 'di ba, no? Pangalawa, kung yun yung direct translation ng gagamitin natin, masyado na po siyang mahaba. And you have to remember, dinadub namin yung title nung fairy tale, nung children's story. So instead of using the term or instead of using the word bell, ang ginawa po namin is tinranslate namin yung title base sa konteksto. So ang naging title na po niya is Sinong Lalapit sa Pusa. Kasi yun naman yung kwento di ba? Nagtatanungan yung mga daga, sinong matapang na lalapit para lagyan ng kalembang yung pusa. Okay? So those are examples of translating context. Does it make sense? Can you type make sense in the chat? Kung ito po ay nakakatulong, okay? If it's making sense to you. Make sense? Thank you po. Thank you. Ayan. So next, the next thing that we need to think about when we're translating context is we think of our audience. Okay? You always think of your audience. Sino ba ang manonood? Okay? At pag sinabi po natin think of your audience, you have three main considerations. Siyempre, unang-una na dyan yung edad, di ba? Age. Sino ba ang nanonood? Usually po, kung ang audience ng materials na dinadab natin ay pambata, it is a best practice to always use po and opo. Okay? Pag bata ang nagsasalita, lalagyan natin ng po and opo. Siyempre, ipopromote natin yung Filipino value ng paggalang, di ba? Huwag nating tatanggalin kasi alam niyo po, aminin natin sa panahon ngayon, di ba, no? Yung mga kabataan hindi na masyadong nagsasalita ng po at opo. So maganda na kung pambata yung kwento or at bata yung nagsasalita dun sa dialogue, lagyan natin ng po at opo, no? Another consideration for your audience is yung language. Pag sinabi po nating language, anong klaseng lengguwahe yung salita na mga ginagamit ng mga characters. Okay? So for example, ikaw, paano mo itatranslate yung word na father in Tagalog? Sige nga, ano ang Tagalog ng word na father? Okay, type it in the chat. Paano mo itatranslate yung word na father? Ama, tatay, itay, ano pa? Tay, ama, tay, tatay. Wala bang sasabing papa? Ayan, si TJ pa. Di ba? Papa, airpods. Okay. So in other words, ang sagot sa tanong ko is depende. Depende sa lengguwahe nung dialogue. Right? Because kung ang nagsasalita is social, di ba? Imposible na tawagin itay. Malamang ang gagamitin mo dyan, papa. 'Di ba? Kung maharlika sila, 'di ba? Kung royalty, 'di ba? Isang prinsesa tinawag ang kanyang tatay, sasabihin niya ama, right? O kung mahirap ba sila, yun, gagamitin mo tatay, 'di ba? Haligi ng tahanan. Pwede naman, 'di ba? Pops, ang taray ng pops. Gusto ko yung gano'n, 'di ba? If the material is modern, 'di ba? In other words, minsan nga hindi mo pwede mo nga lagay daddy, 'di ba? Dad, yan, yung mga ganyan, 'di ba? Depende sa lengguwahe nung material. Okay? And last but not the least, the setting, no? Yung period. Because, again, kung normal setting, pwede naman mag-taglish naman yung mga characters. Di ba, no? Kung mga, kunyari, police sila, if the story is set in a modern time, di ba? If it's just like an everyday situation, katulad nung kung nasaan tayo, di ba? If it's fiction, 'di ba? Kung alien o robot yung nagsasalita, paano sila magsasalita? Anong klaseng mga lengguwahe ang gagamitin nila? 'Di ba? Maririnig mo bang sasabihin nila charot kahit modern yung setting, 'di ba? Pero robot yung nagsasalita. Magsasalita ba ng charot yung robot, 'di ba? Right? Or if it's a period film, like for example, if it's set in the war era, 'di ba? Or the golden ages, the medieval ages, 'di ba? Anong klaseng mga salita ang gagamitin? Pwede kang gumamit ng mas malalalim na salita, gayon pa man, 'di ba? Kailanman, ayan, pwede mong gamitin yung mga ganong klaseng malalalim na salita. Talipantas. May mga ganon, 'di ba? So those are the things that you need to consider when you think of your audience. Okay? And of course, sabi nga kanina, no, pag sinabi po nating translate context, not content, you should always consider the syncing of the lips, yung movement ba ng bibig sumasabay. So pag sinabi nating lip sync, it means number one, sabay dun sa haba nung sinasabi nung character. Okay? And as much as possible, sabay dun sa mismong galaw ng bibig, no? One of the best practice that you can do is if, let's say, for example, yung linya ng character ends with closed mouth na sound, like for example, letter M, letter P, or letter B, yung papasara yung bibig, no? Pag natapos yung linya, kung kaya mong i-match dun sa translation mo, then you match it. Okay? So, the script that you can see here on the screen, actually, ito po yung kauna-unang script na pinatranslate ko sa akin ni Sir Choi, ano? This is an instructional video na ibuboses niya. Actually, translated na. So, yung nakikita niyo po dito sa screen na to, ito yung sinend kay Sir Choi para i-dub, no? Ito na yung Tagalog translation. And pina-correct niya sa akin, no? Pina-translate niya ulit sa akin. And I'm sharing this sample with you for two reasons. Because number one, dito mo makikita yung diferensya, no? Kanina sabi ko, when you were translating Beauty and the Beast, makikita mo pa lang, no, na kapag nakita mo yung translation ng text to text, kadalasan ang ginagawa nung pag nag-iisip ka bilang translator, you're basically just translating it word for word, text to text lang, yun lang ang iniisip mo. But again, sabi ko kanina, as a scriptwriter, you need to think na hindi makikita or maririnig or mababasa yung original dialogue. Okay? So, ang tanong is, kapag tinranslate mo siya, is it actually making sense kapag hindi ko na nababasa or hindi ko naririnig yung original? Okay? And the second reason that I'm sharing with you the script is pag nakita mong yung English at Tagalog na magkatabi, okay? Makikita mo dun sa haba ng Tagalog translation. Yung English, 2 linya lang. Yung Tagalog, 3. So, it's obvious na kapag ni-record yan ni Sir Choi, hindi na yan magsisync doon sa video. Kasi masyadong marami yung words na meron ka doon sa Tagalog. Okay? Na-experience nyo yan kanina, nagtatranslate kayo ng Beauty and the Beast. Diba? So, you also have to be conscious about the word count. Hindi mo kailangan bilangin yung mismong word count. But you can actually see, makikita mo, no, pag English siya ka-Tagalog, kung mas marami ka ng words na ginamit doon sa Tagalog translation, alam mo na, hindi yan magsisync, hindi yan babagay. Okay? So, pinatranslate po siya sa akin ni Sir Choi at ito po yung ginawa ko. This is how I corrected it. Okay? So, I'm not sure if you could compare it, if you could contrast it, no? Pero isa sa mga obvious dito is that mas malapit na po yung haba ng linya ng English at saka ng Tagalog. And because it's an instructional video, ang goal mo naman dito, again, inisip ko, no? Sino ba yung audience? Ang audience dito is yung mga students, no? Yung mga mag-aaral na gumamit ng handheld device. Okay? So, ang tanong pa rin sa utak ko is, kapag pinakinggan ba nila yung instruction na to, maiintindihan ba nila? Right? And since it's modern, because it's an instructional video, okay lang na i-retain mo, no, yung ibang words. Like, for example, yung vibration, kanina tinranslate panginginig. So, ang ginawa ko, ni-retain ko na lang yung word na vibration kasi, kumbaga, it's kind of universal, no? Pag sinabi natin, ang phone mo nagva-vibrate, di ba? So, kumbaga, it's a general accepted term kahit na i-localize mo pa yung script. Okay? Another thing that you need to consider, no, is sentence construction. Ito po yung lagi sinasabi ni Sir Choi, write as if you're speaking, not as if you're writing. Yun po ang importante. Ang kulit ko dito, no, but your audience is watching and listening. Hindi po sila nagbabasa, no. Yun po yung lagi nating patatandaan. And one of the things na tinuturo din sa amin ni Sir Choi noon is eliminate the word I, yung AY, no. So for example, pag tinranslate mo to, di ba, sabi nung nanay, where are you going? So sa Tagalog, saan ka pupunta? Okay? Sige nga, translate mo yung sinabi ng anak. I'm going to the party. In most cases, itatranslate natin siya. Kung itatranslate natin siya na word for word, sasabihin natin, ako ay pupunta sa party. But if you think about the conversational way, no, na pagsasabi natin, hindi naman natin sinasabi, ako ay pupunta sa party, 'di ba? So, magpa-party ako, very good. Magpa-party, 'di ba? Pupunta po ako sa party, right? So that's how you can use that's more conversational. Mas maganda siya pakinggan. Okay? O, bakit ka pupunta ng party? O, sagot ng anak, because I'm pretty. O, ang direct translation niyan, dahil ako ay maganda. O, so paano mo sasabihin yon? Dahil maganda ako. O, bakit ba? Pake mo, 'di ba? So, be mindful of sentence construction. Sometimes, pag i-reshuffle mo yung words within the sentence para mag-sync at para mag-make sense. No? So that's one thing that you need to keep in mind when it comes to translating context and not content. Okay? Are you ready for secret number 3? Say ready. Type ready in the chat kung ready ka na sa secret number 3. Ready! Yay! Red, sabi ni sa chicks po ako. Gusto ko yon. Ayan. Last but not the least, secret number 3 is enrich your vocabulary. And I guess in general, no, pag nagsusulat ka, 'di ba, may writer ba dito? As in, kung copywriter ka, 'di ba, kung scriptwriter ka, 'di ba? If you are any kind of, kung nagsusulat ka ng article, 'di ba, no, kung nagsusulat ka ng libro, anything that you write, 'di ba? Kailangan lumawak ang vocabulary mo. 'Di ba? So when you are translating for dubbing, ang tendency mo is maghahanap ka ng similar words so that you can say one thing in many different ways. Parang yung example natin ng father kanina, 'di ba? Hahanapin mo yung ilang pwede mong sabihin, yung iba-ibang version ng word na father para mailagay mo siya sa tamang konteksto. Okay? For example, how many ways can you say your highness? Ayan, ito. Wala naman siguro modern dito, no? So kung if the film is all about royalty, 'di ba? Paano mo sasabihin? Kamahalan, sabi ni Miss Kimberly, kamahalan, sabi ni Miss Trina. Ano pa? Mahal na hari. Mahal na reyna, 'di ba? Kamahalan, yan. So how many ways can you say your highness? What about this? Welcome! Pinuno, sabi ni Sir Marco, very good. Welcome! Paano mo sasabihin yon? Paano mo itatranslate yon in Tagalog? Paano mo itatranslate yung welcome? Mabuhay! Mabuhay para Miss Universe, di ba? Or what about this? Maligayang pagdating, di ba? Kung, again, if it's a more period or if it's more historic type of setting, di ba? Pwede mo sabihin maligayang pagdating. Or what if, sabihin mo na lang welcome. Di ba? Kung modern yung setting, you can actually retain the English equivalent. Right? What about this? Ma'am or sir? Ma'am sir, di ba? Pwede mo masabihin yun. No? Pag tinranslate mo na sa Tagalog, ma'am or sir, paano mo sasabihin yon? Ginoo? Ano pa? Sir, ma'am, okay, pwedeng i-retain, di ba? Hi, ma'am, sir, welcome to Jollibee. Cute. Ayan, eto pa, what about this word? Sana yun? Dear, dear. Paano mo naman itatranslate? Ma'am, she, sabi ni Miss Dayan. Ayan, dear, how will you translate the word dear? Mars? Mahal, mahal. Kung asawa mo yan, di ba? But what if it's just a general term? Let's say, for example, dear, paabot nga ng tubig, di ba? Paano mo yun sasabihin? Paano mo yung itatranslate? Dear, nak. Ay, gusto ko yon. Nak, ating. Friend, best, sis, di ba? Yung mga ganyan. Pwede naman, di ba? Eto pa. Excuse me. Again, translate the context, no? So obviously, depende sa context ng ine-excuse mo. Ano ba ibig sabihin nito? Bumahing ka ba? Padaan po, ayan, dadaan ka, so you're saying excuse me. Makikiraan po, paumanhin po, if you're saying excuse me as an apology. Tabi-tabi po, nuno. 'Di ba? So there are many ways to translate, a single word or a single phrase. So again, as a script writer, lawakan mo yung vocabulary mo, 'di ba? Enrich your vocabulary. Okay? Ayan. Eto, meron namang mga words or phrases that have no Tagalog equivalent. Okay? Like for example, welcome home. Ayan. Congratulations! Standard operating procedure. Ano ka dyan, di ba? Zombie apocalypse. Ayan. So, ano ang gagawin natin sa mga words or phrases na walang Tagalog equivalent? Okay? Well, you have two options actually, no? Kapag zombie apologize. Kapag meron kang pag naka-encounter ka ng mga words or phrases na walang Tagalog equivalent, you have two options. It's either number one, you use a different term or altogether. Okay? So you can say pag sinabing standard operating procedure, yes, as it is, sabi ni Naylin, Voice of the Ages, yan, di ba? So, pwedeng you retain the English equivalent, right? Or you use a different term altogether. So, pag sinabing zombie apocalypse, pwede mo naman sabihin katapusan ng mundo, di ba? Hindi mo naman kailangan sabihin na zombie siya, di ba? So, those are the two things that you can do. Again, palagi po nating tatandaan, context, context, context. Sabi ni Ms. Zell, welcome home daw, itatranslate niya, saan ka na naman ang galing? Gusto ko yun, di ba? Ang sweet, yon. Okay? And last but not the least, when it comes to enriching your vocabulary, sometimes you will also encounter materials that have songs and rhymes. Paano ka dyan, di ba? Ano ang gagawin mo kung yung tinatranslate mong material may kanta o may tula or may rhyme, no? And actually, sa children's story, ang dami nito, no? Or imaginein mo, paano kaya kung itatranslate mo yung Little Mermaid, 'di ba? Kung magta-translate ka ng musical, paano kaya 'yon? So, translating songs and rhymes will really get your creative juices flowing. So, obviously, hindi uubra dito yung direct translation. So, minsan nagagawin mo, magko-compose ka. So, I actually have here a couple of examples. So, isa ito sa mga dinab namin, no? 3 Little Pigs. So, siguro alam nyo, familiar kayo dun sa linya ng wolf na I'll huff, I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in, no? So, paano kaya namin tinranslate yon? So, ito po yung English version.
Little pig, let me come in.
No, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin.
Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house
So yun po
in.
yung English, no? So paano namin to ginawa? So again, obviously, paano natin tatagalugin yung hairy chin-chin, di ba? So hindi na namin ginamit yon, no? So gumawa kami ng sarili naming rhyme. And by the way, boses po ni Sir Choyo, maririnig nyo dito. Ayan. So eto po yung ginawa namin doon sa Tagalog version.
Munting biik, ako'y iyong papasukin.
Hindi maaari. Kahit ano pang iyong sabihin, hindi kita papasukin.
Kung ganoon, sa aking paghinga,
Ayun. So narinig nyo, di ba? Hindi namin ginamit, hindi nga namin ginamit yung I'll puff, di ba? Sinabi na lang namin yung word na paghinga. So gumawa kami ng sarili naming rhyme. And the last example that I have for you is si Rumpelstiltskin. So merong eksena dito, kumakanta siya, no? Actually, dito siya nadulas. Dito niya nasabi yung pangalan niya. Kaya nahulaan yung pangalan niya nung, I think, king or queen yon, no? So ito po yung English version.
And sung,
Today I bake and tomorrow I brew. The day after that the queen's child comes in. And ooh, I am glad that nobody knew that my name is Rumpelstiltskin.
Today I bake, tomorrow I brew. Halakap! Anong klaseng translation ang gagawin mo dyan, diba? So again, nag-compose po kami.
Ngayon ako ay magsasaya dahil bukas ang kanilang anak ay akin na. At buti na lang hindi nila malalaman na Rumpelstiltskin ang aking pangalan.
Ay pasok in the chat kung pasok siya para sa'yo, diba? Ibang-iba, right? Hindi namin ginamit yung mga words nila. Pasok, ayan, pasok po, salamat, swak, ayan, thank you po. Okay, so yun yung mga bagay na kailangan nyo i-consider, no? So you will really have to get your creative juices flowing and enrich your vocabulary para mas maging effective, no? Yung pag-translate mo for dubbing, okay? So, Here are the 3 secrets in a snapshot para ma-screenshot nyo. Pwede ko lang kung ba't may sulat dito. Ayan. Secret number 1 is to think like a scriptwriter. Secret number 2 is context, not content. And secret number 3 is enrich your vocabulary. Ayan. Kung nakatulong sa'yo ang 3 secrets na to for a world-class script localization, type moi in the chat. Ayan. Kung sa tingin mo magagamit mo to kapag ikaw ay nag-dub, ikaw ay nag-translate ng script mo. May chup-chup pa ganyan, no? Moi, ayan. Yehey! Yehey! So, ayan, natutuwa naman ako na may natutunan kayo, di ba? Kung na makakatulong sa inyo yung mga shinare ko sa inyo na 3 secrets. So, that ends my presentation. Maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat. Kung meron po kayong questions, now is the time to ask them. Meron ba akong panahon para mag-Q&A, Sir Jeff, Sir Richard? Mwah hugs, Ma'am Shia. Thank you, Dayan.
Yes, Miss Ada, you could have a couple of minutes for your Q&A naman po.
Ayan. So, meron po bang gusto magtanong? Ay, nag-stop na po ako mag-share ng aking screen. Meron po bang gusto magtanong?
I think Miss Ada, Ceci Luna is raising her hand. Ceci,
Yes.
do you have a question for Miss Ada? Ces, are you there? O naiwanan lang ito during the translation? Sige, balikan natin si Miss Ces. I
Napindot
think,
lang po,
Nailin, do
sabi
you have a
niya.
question, Nailin? Napindot lang. Ayan. How about Nailin?
Good
Nailin?
morning, Miss Ada. Hindi
Hello
siya question. Naririnig
okay
na ba?
po. Yes,
Yes po.
Nailin, go ahead.
Hindi
Good
siya
morning in
question.
Bahrain
Okay,
and
hindi
good
siya
afternoon
question,
from the
kundi
Philippines po. Sige po.
Yes po. Okay po. Morning po. Hindi siya question, kundi observation lang kasi gumagawa ko ng translation. So nakita ko kanina, challenging siya talaga kasi nagko-contradict siya dun sa totoong translation. Nakaka-challenge kasi kahit na may rules sa translation, pagdating sa dubbing, ikaw pala talaga yung mag-a-adjust. As in,
Yes.
sa choices ng salita, tapos kung paano mo papaikliin. So more on sa mensahe o sa messages, not sa sentence o sa word for word. So talagang challenging. Tapos isasabay mo pa yung bukan ng bibig. Tapos possible na i-consider kung sino yung audience. So ang dami siyang consideration. Hindi pala siya ganun kadali na basta idadab mo lang. Kundi, yun nga, pasok na pasok yung 3 sikreto. Natutuwa ako kasi sabi ko, nadagdagan, ang sarap i-share. Tapos, ang sarap practicein. Tapos siguro mas ano pa, sa vocabulary. Additional vocabulary para kung depende kung sino audience mo, makapag-adjust din. Thank you, Ma'am Ada.
Yes.
Very informative
Thank you,
and
Miss
very
Nailin.
effective po. Thank you po.
Salamat po. Yes. And gusto ko lang din ulitin ko yung sinabi niyo, no, tama yun. Kaya nga ang secret number 1 talaga natin is to think like a scriptwriter, no. Hindi ka lang basta-basta nagta-translate. And I'll be honest with you, no, kahit naman ako nung una akong pinag-translate ni Sir Choi, siguro sabihin natin yung 3 linya na kailangan ko i-translate, umabot ako ng 1 oras. Ganun kasi talaga siya. Like, when you're really starting out, talagang ang bagal mo mag-translate, no? And think if you have to translate like a 10-minute animation, di ba? Or a movie na 90 minutes, di ba? Matagal ka talaga magta-translate. But the good thing is, as you practice, again, sabi ko nga, yung shinare ko is based on my personal experience. In other words, these are what worked for me, no? So baka ikaw may sarili kang style, baka ikaw may sarili kang secret or lesson na natutunan mo din, no? If you have writing experience, kahit hindi translating, no, that could also be helpful na ma-hone mo yung skill mo when it comes to script writing for dubbing. So, think like a script writer. Yun talaga yung sikreto doon.
Yan. I think, Miss Ada, there's another question in the chat box, so I could share na lang po. It's from
Sige po.
Miss Trina. My voice voyage. Paano po isusulat ang mga script pag nag-intercut between 2 scenes in 2 difficult locations na walang off-screen?
Usually, pag kunyari, ang example niya yata, 2 tao na magkausap sa telepono. Pagka ganun, isang isang scene lang siya because the conversation is parang technically pwede nga ang scene mo doon is on the phone, no? Hindi mo siya ilalagay na yung location. Let's say for example, ako nasa bahay tas yung kausap ko nasa Eiffel Tower, 'di ba? Hindi mo siya ilalagay as that. You'll actually describe the scene as a phone conversation. So isang eksena lang siya because it's just one dialogue that's going on. Ganon. So pag natapos yung conversation na yon, let's say for example, binaba yung telepono tapos yung character A na lang yung nagsasalita. Then you can actually make that as another scene. Let's say for example, may dumating na panibagong character tapos mag-uusap naman na sila ngayon. So panibagong eksena na yon. Okay? So pwede mo siyang i-cut na ganon. Does that answer your question, Ms. Trina? You're welcome.
Ito, from Chris, Vox Americano, hello?
Yes.
So, ito daw, is there a demand for Tagalog in American accent? Oh.
Siguro meron. Kasi ako to be honest with you, hindi na ako masyadong nag-handle ng mga inquiry for voiceover or for dubbing, but I'm thinking meron din naman. I mean it's really just out there, no? Hindi ako I'm probably not the best person to answer that question. Kasi again, hindi na ako masyado nag-handle ng mga inquiries na ganun for voiceover. But what I can recommend you do is hindi ko kasi alam if it's covered sa curriculum ng CVAP, no? But what you can do is you think about this. Nasaan yung mga audience or nasaan yung mga clients na nangangailangan ng Tagalog in American accent. So sino ba yung mga merong mga materials na kailangan parang amboy yung nagsasalita. Parang ganon. So think about that. Where are they and where are they hanging, diba? So siguro that's one that's one way that you can start getting into those kinds of voiceover projects.
Wow. Thank you
Right.
for that, Miss Ada. In terms of monetary issues or concerns, there is a question from Tumnik. How much po the usual rate for translation for a dubbing or AVP? Would there be a standard po ba, like per words?
Nakalimutan ko na. Hindi, joke. But normally, pagka kami nabibigay ng dubbing quotation, kasi actually, ako yung personal experience ko is, we're sending dubbing quotations for the studio as creative voices, no? And usually kasi, depende sa idadub. Ang standard po na pagpepresyo pagdating sa translation is either number one, naka-bake in na siya dun sa dubbing requirement, meaning, kung magpapadub ka sa akin, ako na rin na magta-translate. Gets? So, and again, I'm speaking from package siya, pero I'm speaking as representing a studio, like representing creative voices, okay? So, ganun kami usually mag-quote for translation. Naka-package na siya for the dubbing, no? So that's, one way to look at it. And then yung mismong rate na binibigay namin usually for the dubbing package is per source, ang tawag namin doon, source file minute. Ibig sabihin, it doesn't matter how long you translate or how long you dub, ang presyo natin is ilang minutes meron doon sa source file, meaning yung idadub, times kung magkano yung per minute nun. Ganon siya. Usually, ganon ang presyohan, no, pagdating sa dubbing.
Oh, thank you, Miss Ada. I think this also covers the concern of Christian Cañete. Like, may additional charge ba for its translation of hard-to-adapt lines for dubbing?
Usually, naka-bake in na yun eh. Kasi pag sinabi nating additional charges, usually mag-additional charges ka kapag ang pinag-uusapan na is revision. No? So, hindi mo, parang kasi pag let's say for example, Ada, may papadub ako sa'yo na may papatranslate ako sa yung movie, for example. Hindi ko sasabihin na, wait lang, babasahin ko muna siya, titignan ko kung gaano siya kahirap i-translate. No, that's usually not a consideration when you're pricing or when you're selling services for dubbing or translation. Hindi yung complexity ng script, I don't know pero personally parang it's not really something na parang si Sir Troy for example, alangan namang sabihin niya na panoorin muna natin yung pelikula, 'di ba? Tignan natin kung malalim ba yung mga words na ita-translate. So we're not gonna do that. So para sa atin may standard tayo na per minute ng source file, ito yung presyo natin. Parang ganoon siya. I hope that answers the question.
Ako din. I was very enlightened and very informative of what you have shared, Miss Ada. Siguro this one is concerned about the timeline naman, coming from the client towards the translator's end. Pag nabigyan po ba kayo ng script to translate, how long po yung time na binibigay para ma-translate? Let's say, yung buong series o buong palabas.
Again, it depends on, kasi nakapackage siya dun sa dubbing, no? So usually, the client is not really concerned about how long it takes for you to translate the script, but it's actually packaged in the timeline of the entire project. Kasi ang assumption dun is that, obviously, ang kailangan ko lang naman sa'yo yung output na dinub na diba? So hindi, unless kailangan nila specifically yung script, then there's really no specific timeline for the translation. So the timeline for finishing the translation will be baked into the demand of when the entire dubbing project is due. Okay? And iba-iba actually for clients yung timeline na meron sila. Kasi kadalasan, kapag ang mga studios may dubbing requirement, usually bulto yan. And I think Miss Nikki, ikaw na-experience mo to ngayon, yung bulk ng dubbing work na meron ang Creative Voices ngayon, 'di ba? So I understand that you could really have, very tight timelines. Like for example, matanggap ko yung script ngayon, deadline niya in 2 days. Or dapat bukas na translate mo siya. Sometimes I've even experienced translating na parang, Ada natanggap ngayon, sige, tapusin mo yung script ngayon kasi bukas na natin siya i-record or mamayang gabi natin siya i-record. So it really depends, no? It depends on it's baked in dun sa timeline ng buong project. So si project manager, usually siya magsasabi sa inyo kung kailan yung deadline ng translation kasi syempre, again, sabi ko nga kanina, it's almost impossible to dub without a script. No? So, yun talaga yung unang kailangang matapos.
Sir Rich?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Ito, na-answer na ba yung question ni Kim?
Hindi pa, sir. Mukhang bago pa lang to. Kapapasok na.
Ito, may dalawa. So, ito, unahin na natin baguhin na answer muna natin ito from Kim, Voices by Kim. Hindi ko masyadong, by Dice pala, ayan. If you want to venture in dubbing script writing, what are the best platforms and networks to find clients?
Creative Voices. Kasi I mean, if you want to venture into script writing for dubbing, then you obviously want to work with studios that are actually doing dubbing, 'di ba? So kung hindi ka magda-dub pero gusto mo magsulat, so obviously magsusulat ka para dun sa may mga idadub. Right? So those are the studios, the recording studios, the network na merong demand for dubbing sa kanila. So, and like I said, honestly, Creative Voices is really the best place to start kasi sa pagkakaalam ko, I think you really have a lot of dubbing projects right now. So kung gusto mong ma-experience o kung gusto mong masimulan na ma-expose sa translating or sa script writing for dubbing, then I think, you don't need to look or go any further pa. Yun. Ito, sagutin ko na to si Nick of Voice, no? Sabi niya, kapag gumagawa po kayo ng script, technique? Panonoorin ba muna ang whole movie or per scene? Ako personally, I don't watch the entire movie first and then go back to, scene 1 and start translating. I translate as I go. Kasi honestly, parang wala ka naman, ako personally, parang wala naman din ako masyado mapapala kung panonoorin ko yung movie out of, just watching it, tas saka ko babalikan para mag-translate. So, umpisahan ko na siyang i-translate. Ganon. Kasi ganon din naman ang gagawin mo Pag nagsimula ka mag-translate, it's just like watching the movie, but you're watching it in really slow motion. Ganon ang ginagawa ko pag when you're script writing for dubbing because ihinto ka linya by linya, 'di ba? Uulit-ulitin mo siya, 'di ba? So, in essence, while you're doing that, while you're dissecting the movie para ma-translate mo siya, the story will unfold before you. 'Di ba? Yes. So hindi mo kailangan makita yung twist sa huli para lang ma-translate mo siya sa umpisa. Malalaman mo rin 'yan, ma-uncover mo rin 'yan. So I don't really recommend watching the entire thing first before having to translate it.
Wow, thank you. I think also it covers the question of JP. Kasi sabi niya, do you need to read the whole script before translating or you may do the translation as you read the script per line? So I think nasagot na rin yun as
per line. Per line
line.
talaga ako. Yeah, yun talaga yung style ko, even in the beginning.
Actually, the benefit of it, Miss Ada, no, it saves time and effort. And
Yes.
also, you are meeting the deadlines set by the client. Di ba? And you have enough time pa
Totoo.
para ma-review, no? Yung inyong
Correct.
translation.
Kasi imaginein mo kung yung isa't kalahating oras na pinanood mo yung movie, sana nagsimula ka na mag-translate. So yung isa't kalahating oras mong yon, especially if you're starting out, that's probably just the first 5 minutes of the movie na na-translate mo in an hour and a half. Yun po yung katotohanan doon. When you're really starting out, matagal ka talagang magta-translate. Okay? You will get to a point when, again, pag sanay ka na, pag malawak na yung vocabulary mo, when you can easily translate context, no, bibilis ka. Yung isang oras na i-dub, kaya mo siyang i-translate in 2 hours. So parang, kumbaga, double na lang nung duration nung material na translate mo, yung time na kailangan mo para mag-translate. No? Ganon.
Yan. So much to the questions that had been shared sa chat box. I just go back, Miss Ada, may nabasa lang ako. This one is from MJ Capanier. Sabi niya, ang galing niyo po mag-explain, Miss Ada. Clear po kayo magsalita.
Talaga ba?
You really know what you are saying. Ang hirap, ito yung pinakamaganda, Miss Ada. Ang hirap po pala mag-translate.
Totoo.
Salamat po.
Especially dubbing kasi yun nga may time code pa, tapos yung mouth feel, yung galaw ng mouth. Tapos kailangan sa relevant, kailangan yung audience aalamin mo. Yung kanina nga yung half and puff, 'di ba? Ang hirap i-translate nun.
Correct.
I think Sir Rich,
and actually,
sige, Miss Ada, parang one more critical part of translation din is yung context.
Sige po.
Yung lesson of the story. Minsan nagta-translate ka, baka sa pagta-translate mo along the way, baka lumalayo ka na. So dapat yon iingatan mo yun. Kasi yun nga, you have your target market. So dapat maingat ka doon at talagang masusi na tina-translate ang bawat salita.
That's a very good point, Sir Jeff. No? Kumbaga, maganda yung sinasabi mo. So even if you paraphrase or rephrase the entire thing, you still, huwag kang lalayo doon sa kwento. Tandaan mo may kwento pa rin. Ano? And this is actually very important din, especially if you're translating materials na may following. No? Imagine if you have to translate things like Harry Potter, diba? Or Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. You have to understand the language of those materials kasi may following na yan, diba? Pag dinab mo yan tas hindi mo alam ang Star Wars, hindi mo alam yung lengguwahe, hindi mo alam yung sinasabi nila, hindi mo alam kung paano sila makipag-usap, diba? Basura yung lalabas sa script mo. Lalaitin yung dinab. Pag napalabas sa TV, no, mababash at mababash yan. Yun ang katotohanan doon. So, you also have to, again, consider sino ba yung nanonood. It all boils down to that, thinking of your audience. Because obviously, when you're translating things that have a certain following, no, yung mga libro na ginawang pelikula, di ba, yung mga ganon, or yung mga series like James Bond, right? May following na yung mga yan, may mga fans yung mga yan. May nagko-cosplay ng ng mga materials na yan, 'di ba? So there are mga fans, 'di ba? May mga fanatics diyan sa mga ganyang klaseng material. So kailangan alam mo 'yon, kailangan kilala mo sila, alam mo yung lengguwahe nila. So that's what we mean by language.
Wow, thank you very much, Miss Ada. I think if there's no more questions, Sir Rich.
All right. So I guess we can, Miss Ada, thank you so much for your time. It was a wonderful hour and a half that you shared with us. Napaka-meaningful nun. And, you know, we got to learn everything about script writing. It's not as easy as you think. Diba? And especially when you're dubbing, especially when you have to follow each time code, each line, each emotion. So, it's really a long process talaga para natin matutunan. But you know, sabi nga kanina Ma'am Ada, as long as you're in the right studio and the right mentor, matututunan yan. So just if you really want to do this, you know, this is the perfect platform for you sa Creative Voices, di ba? And of course, nandiyan din si Miss Ada. Yun. All right. Thank you so much, Ma'am Ada, for your time once again. Thank you very much, Sir Jeff. Grabe.
Yes, sir.
What an amazing
salamat, Miss
talk.
Ada. So I think everyone, can we give a CBAP appreciation clap for Miss Ada
Raise your hands in
Cuaresma.
the air!
Hey! Thank you po, Miss Ada.
Salamat! Salamat! Thank you po. Thank you, Sir Choi. Salamat po.